Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Women to Women. I'm Carol Paz, your hostess for tonight, and I have with me a very special lady, Rosemarie Sherman. And we're going to welcome Rosemarie in just a moment. But thank you to Carpenter Nevada LLC, importer of fine Portuguese olive oils, international teas, and balsamic vinegar, as well as Pete's famous chorizo at Vilbas Deli and Cafe. So let's begin. Rosemarie, thank you so much for being here with us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Rosemarie, you and I probably come, although I never ask ages, okay, but I'm guessing that we have shared some of the same things in common on the political scene, on the presidential scene, on the civil rights scene, etc. But your title fascinates me. You are a worker and employee of the federal government for what program?
It's AmeriCorps Vista, Volunteers in Service to America.
When did that begin? When did that start?
Well, if you think of John F. Kennedy tried to do it, and he started what was called the Peace Corps. And then it had to wait till Lyndon Baines Johnson came around to implement it.
Okay, so it was the brainchild of John F. Kennedy.
Yes.
But he actually had to turn it over, and we know, the tragedy of the assassination. So many of his plans had to be turned over to Lyndon Johnson. And Lyndon Johnson was a big motivator and conveyor and a passer of a lot of civil rights legislation during the 1960s.
Yes.
So in a VISTA program, what is the goal of the federal government with VISTA programs?
Okay, the old Peace Corps was international.
Correct.
And VISTA is, just like
national.
it says, Volunteers in Service to America.
So it's national.
Yes, it's national. We want to help the people here.
All right. And before we come to that phase of your life where you had to make decisions to become a federal employee or a member of VISTA, let's find out some more about you as a little kid. All right?
Sure.
Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Well, my family was born in Bilbao on my mother's side.
Bilbao, meaning for our listening audience.
Spain.
Yes.
Okay. And it's funny, but my background has a lot of funny ins and outs. My dad's family was in the diplomatic service, and we ended up in a little Central American country called Honduras.
I should introduce you to my husband, Jose, from outside of Madrid, son of an ambassador under Franco to Havana, Cuba, or to Cuba and to Venezuela. Yes. You would have more in common with him, perhaps, than we two do. But he's not the hostess of the program. No. So, growing up, what was it like in Bilbao?
I was only there for 1 year.
Okay, so as an infant.
Right, and so I grew up till I was, I was in Honduras for 4 years.
All right. Do you have any memories of Honduras as a child?
Yes, and we do go back because my uncle was an archaeologist there, and that's what took us there. And he was just 95 the other day, and he wrote so many books on Central America and all the digs that he did.
Yes.
He was a fascinating man.
Yes. I'm really prompted to say genetically, do you have any of that historical love in you, that love for unearthing other civilizations? Do you also have that interest?
Oh, yes, I do. And he was trying to teach me Mayan because I love languages.
Yes.
And he said the Mayan language is really easy. He could speak German, English, French, Spanish, and Mayan.
He's a linguist.
Yes, he was too.
Linguist, historian, and archaeologist. So that means he's a very well-educated man.
Oh, yes. He went to Minnesota State.
Okay, the University of Minnesota.
Yes.
Which has always had a very good reputation for academics.
Yes.
For academics. So from Honduras, where did you come next?
Well, my dad took us to LAX, Los Angeles, California.
Yes. Now, is your father, was he at that time still in the diplomatic corps?
No, he actually he was a merchant marine. He was a fascinating man also. And he was with Trans World Airlines.
TWA?
Yes.
Okay.
when he
And
came to the States.
in what capacity?
He was what you call a chief inspector. He had 700 people under him, and he was the one that you depended on to make sure that the planes were in good shape.
Thank you to your father. I flew TWA many times
Yes.
from New York out and into other parts of Europe. So again, education is a strong factor in your family.
Oh yes, I have many doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs, I guess.
Now, are you the only child in the family?
No, I have two sisters. One passed away.
Okay.
But then my younger sister, she's a teacher, 5th grade.
So 3 daughters. Mm-hmm. All right. I was a 5th grade teacher too. Can I be your sister?
Yes.
All right, Rosemarie, knowing now that you have a strong educational streak, so to speak, in your family, where did you go to school? What was your upbringing like in terms of education?
Well, my mother was a teacher, and I went to UCLA. I went to high school in California in a little area called Hawthorne.
Okay.
I went to school with, this will date me, with the Beach Boys.
They're still very popular.
Oh, I know, and one of my best friends married one of the Beatles, George Harrison. So,
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Was that his only marriage?
No, he was married a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had the inside track on a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
I'm jealous. All right. So where did your education bring you eventually?
Well, from UCLA, I got a fine arts degree, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I went into hospitality and interior design.
Okay. Now, when you say hospitality, are you speaking of the hospitality industry, such as hotels?
Yes, I am.
All right. And what kind of work did you eventually use that hospitality degree?
Oh, yes, I did. Let's see, right before the economy changed, I was doing...
About in 2008?
Yes, Harrah's up at the lake. I did the High Roller Suites. It was a great place to work, and I did part of the Hilton, Johnny Rockets, lots of restaurants all over the USA. So that was my thing.
All right. So with such an extensive background in family upbringing, also in moving to different areas of the world, how did you ever wind up with Vista?
Well, I have, you know, that gene of Latin.
Yes, yes.
And I have never given to the community, and the community has been very good to me. So I decided, hey, it's about time you do something for people that need help in English. So many Latins don't speak the language well. I think that it would behoove them to work real hard and become fluent in the language of their country.
Of their country, of the culture they live in. And sometimes, Rosemarie, that's a very hard idea to accept in many people's minds. Having lived outside of my own culture, I'm American, but having married into a different culture, I absolutely found it necessary. If I was going to share in any way with my married into family, if I was going to share in the laughter and the jokes and the food and everything, to be a part of their family, I needed to learn their language.
Yes.
And it's not as hard as many people think. A lot of it has just to do with attitude. Attitude. All right, so what do you do in specific in Vista?
I have been given the opportunity to set up schools in Douglas County.
Okay.
And what I do is I have gone to my local Catholic church, talked to Father Paul there, the pastor, and said, here, I've come to fulfill a mission, and this mission is to have you help me set up a school for people that need to learn English as a second language.
Okay, and did he have his arms wide open and say, where have you been in my life? I absolutely need this. Go for it. Was that your reception?
Yes, it was.
Ah.
It was great. And he's been very supportive, and the church is very supportive.
Yes.
And I can't thank them enough. They've let us use their schoolrooms and their equipment. I even have an assistant by the name of Henry Geraldo from Colombia who helps me do everything.
All right. Now, how do you work this magic, okay? You're a federal government employee, correct?
Yes.
All right. So when you see personal needs in family lives in terms of their language skills or lack of, the goal of the federal government, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is to encourage and support and ultimately have people whose mother tongue is not English to come to receive it, accept it, work with it, and actually become fluent in it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, fluency means being able to not only speak in a conversational way, but to be able to read and write.
Right.
Okay. So those 3 levels of skill are part of VISTA.
Yes. Also citizenship and the GED program.
All right. Help us understand how you work a person into the steps of citizenship.
Well, if you want to become a citizen and if you're over 65, you can take the citizenship classes and do them in your own language.
But if you're over 65.
If you're over 65.
Okay.
If you're younger, you really need to know the language. And so that's where we come in and help you answer questions, all the things that you need to become a citizen.
All right. I'm curious, as a teacher, your background is really superb. Your recognition of the need to use language is superb. So how do you convince someone who is under 65 and maybe they want to go back and forth between the United States and whatever country they come from? How do you encourage them? Well, listen, you're living here in the United States, so let's concentrate on this culture first. How do you convince them? And I think that that's going to become a very important discussion point when we come back to the second part of our program. Okay. So I'd like to have you think about that for a few minutes. And in the meantime, tell us a little bit more about maybe 1 or 2 lessons that in all your moving about and coming to a brand new culture eventually in your lifetime, what have you learned that has helped you in particular as Rosemarie Sherman?
I never thought of myself as being different. I always thought I fit in, I'm fine. It's just like I'm only 5'2". And people say, "Oh, you're so tiny." And I said, I've never thought of myself as being small. No. So, hey, it's the same thing. You fit in wherever you go. You have a ball. You enjoy life.
That's right. And our genetics, whatever they may be, are a combination of so many factors of not only parents but grandparents and other relatives, etc. They all contribute to that gene bank. Yeah. And I can remember a lesson that I learned from my little dog. He wasn't very big, but he thought he was. And it was nothing for him to challenge a German Shepherd, to challenge any kind of a big security dog, even a Great Dane. He did not see himself as small at all. And I said, you know what? Pepe's right. Don't think of yourself as diminutive or too small to handle the job. It's how you use that personality, how you use those gifts. And I learned something from my dog.
Yes.
And we're going to learn more from you in the second half. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
A fire-adapted community is prepared to survive a wildfire with little or no firefighter assistance. To help prevent ignition by embers, remove dead and dying plants from around your home. Be sure to remove low-hanging branches and the flammable plants underneath your trees, also known as ladder fuels. Non-flammable plants and pathways create separation and help prevent fire from spreading to your home. Make it lean, clean, and green.
Visit livingwithfire.info for more tips to save your home.
When a disaster strikes our region, will you be ready? Learn about sheltering in place. Since each emergency is different, Make sure you plan for alternate routes away from your neighborhood. Plan meeting places and long-distance phone numbers if you are separated. Assemble food, water, medicines for at least 3 days, and a portable radio to stay informed. Remember, make a plan, assemble a kit, stay informed, be ready. For more information, contact your local emergency manager.
Welcome back to Women to Women. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, thanks to our sponsors, Carpenter Nevada LLC, and to Villa Bastilling Cafe, home of Pete's famous Basque chorizo. We have Rosemarie Sherman with us, and Rosemarie works with VISTA, Volunteers in Service to America, which is a national program here in our country, but internationally it's also known as the Peace Corps. Okay, so we're back, and she has a fascinating background. She's well equipped emotionally, educationally, and personality-wise to handle some very difficult struggles, very difficult challenges that come her way. We're going to talk about that. So, Rosemarie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Now, one quick question. You are from Spain, Alboa. How did you get the last name Sherman? That's not Spanish.
I met a young man when I was 16.
Ooh.
And his name is Daniel Sherman. And I've been married to him for 46 years.
Wow. Congratulations. That's remarkable. 46 years.
Yes.
What clicks with the two of you besides just chemistry?
Well, I think it's that I don't let a day go by that there isn't something interesting going on in my life.
And you share it.
And I share it with him.
Okay. How does he get to share his life with you?
Well, he is a communicator, just like I am. And I think that's what's kept us going for so long, is that we both communicate real well.
You have to be good sounding boards for each other.
Yes.
And you respect each other's opinions.
Yes, we do.
The thinking process is so important. And I would say that, just one of the things you're sharing with us, one of the success points in a long-term marriage is having that regard for each other's thinking potentials.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. All right, let's go back to Vista. Now, I had asked you a question in the first part of the program to kind of consider. When you came into a brand new culture, you don't have an accent at all. You speak English very fluently, just as an American. And that's also a very remarkable thing about you, Rosemarie, is that you have completely adapted to the American accent, to the American sound. So when you come in contact with clients, with people that want to learn a second language, you're a federal government employee working with personalities.
Yes.
And they're going to throw up defenses. They're going to throw up excuses, reasons. This is not important for me to learn English. Those are challenges to you. What are some of the challenges that you deal with on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? What are some of the throw-ups that they put against you?
Well, I can tell you that in this journey that I'm doing now with Vista and AmeriCorps, there is a lady by the name of Florence Phillips that started this program, not the AmeriCorps Vista, but the ESL program, which is English as a Second Language.
Yes.
In-home program, and she started it here in Nevada 8 years ago, or 10 years ago.
Okay.
But she taught me to just really be open and look at what I'm dealing with. Another person that taught me was my mother. My mother said, I don't understand why people have a problem with English. You just turn the television on and the television helps you. This is one of the stumbling blocks of a lot of people that are trying to learn English, is they listen to a station with their own language.
Yes.
And this is a no-no. I tell them, no Univision, no, just English.
Okay.
Take a half hour every day and watch American television.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, because that's how I learned Farsi, one aspect of it. Now, are there certain types of programs that help us more than others to learn English in this case?
I think so. It's great to know your nouns and your verbs and all these things that
Parts of speech, yes.
parts
yes.
of grammar.
Right.
But if you're here and you're an adult, you need to better yourself so that you can get a better job, you can do your citizenship or your GED. And in order to do that, you need to converse.
Yes.
You need to talk to the lady at the bank, the DMV, the grocery store. Where's
to
the
get
milk?
right out there, right out there, and maybe choose stores, choose places where English is the dominant language you're going to have to deal with.
And that's the other thing that I tell my students a lot of times is basically, you're in America now. Oh, let's join the community. Come on in, meet your American neighbor, talk to them in English, no matter how hard it is. They feel sometimes that they're going to make a terrible blunder and people are going to laugh.
No,
No.
not at all. That's probably a mistaken idea that they carry around inside, and it's a fear
Yes.
that allows it to dominate who they are, where they are, and what can become of them. And we want to get rid of that fear.
We want to get rid of that fear, and I think that, like I said, it behooves them to learn the English language and then to continue to grow with their children. Their children need them to go to school, to talk to the teachers
And
in English.
You know, Rosemarie, maybe we can make this suggestion as well. State-run television in the Middle East was highly controlled. And there were periods of time when I could only get Sesame Street. And Sesame Street was in English, but was also in Farsi.
Yes.
So what I did was, with my little boy, we watched it in English, and they repeated the same program, same characters, same skits, everything, then in Farsi. And we both learned Farsi together.
Yes.
When we went to Germany to live, I watched Sesamstraße in German. And we picked it up. So sometimes listening to programs that are very structured, and then I listened to home, family situations.
Yes.
And I could identify with their tone of voice, I could identify with their body language, something that was familiar to me. I said, well, that's how you say that. So do you encourage your students to watch family-style programs where relationships they can pick up on?
Oh, yes. And not only were you doing the right thing, but it's perfect. Is Sesame Street, children's programs. You learn much faster if you're learning at a child's level. I mean, anybody will tell you your children pick up languages like this.
And they do. They certainly do. Okay, can you share with us a success story that took a lot of time, effort, overcoming fears, overcoming challenges? You said yourself, you have to be creative to do this. Okay, first of all, what types of creative situations do you put into the lap, so to speak, of someone who's saying, no, I live here, I want to listen to my own, whether it's in Arabic, whether it's in French, whether it's in German and Japanese, Chinese, Spanish, French, whatever it is. How do you get around that?
That's a very good question. But I am trying real hard to get the communities involved in other ways. It's like I'm going to be doing a play, and we're going to put a play together at the church, and we're going to get the teachers to speak Spanish and the students to speak English. We might do The Man from La Mancha. I don't know, but I think it's going to be fun, and this is a way to be creative and help with all those barriers. We've got to kind of break the language barrier. We're also doing a salsa contest. If you want to learn how to dance salsa, okay, come on out, have some salsa lessons, and we're going to eat salsa and judge it and see who made the best salsa in Douglas County.
And most people love a party. They love to have a good time. They love to enjoy themselves. What is a success story that you'd like to share, or maybe can share, that speaks about all of us as human beings?
Well, the best one, I think, would be me.
Okay. Tell us.
Success story of going from an industry that's a lot of money orientation of, hey, interior design is very, very materialistic, and seeing past that and going, hey, I've got to get something out of myself other than this. I mean, I'm into the pretty. I love everything pretty.
Yes.
But digging down deep inside and saying, give from your heart.
Rosemarie, was there ever a person in your life who taught you that lesson?
Yes, actually, my grandmother.
Ooh.
And she was just this wonderful lady that she became the bank for everybody, because if you didn't have money, she'd give it to you, but you had to give her something to hold. But
Where did she live? In Spain, in Honduras, where?
she lived in Honduras.
Okay.
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 And then she became a multimillionaire there, and that's
Through
why
her
she
own
stayed.
efforts?
Yeah, through her own efforts. My grandfather was a doctor, and he didn't contribute to all this money that she made. She just kept building houses and
Selling houses?
selling houses and building buildings, and she'd take me with her in the morning, and we'd go and we'd meet all her vendors, and I'd meet the contractors, and I was just a little kid, but this was when we'd go visit her.
What a positive role model she was for you as a woman.
As a woman, I got to see that there's nothing standing in your way, just yourself.
Okay, now, what did she do? She made all this money, so what did she do with it that affected you?
Well, I just saw her be so giving and loving to people who needed food, who needed help with anything.
And she
just
gave financially and emotionally.
She gave financially and she gave emotionally, and it was like she was everybody's best friend. And she didn't care if you were a little pauper or you were filthy rich. She was in there with everybody.
And I'm sure that there were times maybe when she was taken advantage of, and she learned from that too. Okay, so when you came to this point in your life that you decided, show business, it's enough. I've seen enough, I've been there, done that. Was it your grandmother who came in to affect you emotionally to give now, return and give back?
Yes, my grandmother and actually my father. My father was a giver.
So you come from a family of generosity, not only in finances but in spirit. And what a wonderful opportunity and, what should I say, future outlook. Someday, if I am successful in a materialistic kind of way, I hope that I recognize that there is a time to return and to share.
Yes.
And that's a very special value. We don't often see that so up close as you did. So up close. All right, so where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Probably helping you host a bigger television show.
Okay, I love it, I love it, I love it. Rosemarie, turning to that audience out there, one final thought, and I think you said it very well, but maybe you're going to rephrase it. To women who think there's no future for me, to women to think I'm over the hill, I'm past the age of giving, I'm past the age of making it, so to speak, what would you say to them?
Well, it's an old cliche, but you're never too old, and you have it in you to do. There's things that we need to do at certain times of our lives, and those times will change you, and change is growing, and you need to grow no matter how old you are.
You're so right. And on that truth, we're going to say goodnight to you, welcome you back next week for a brand new guest. But thank you so much, Rosemarie, for being a part of our program. Have a good evening. Good night.